If your mornings feel rushed, if your first thoughts are stress and pressure, if you're already behind the moment you open your eyes, you're not just tired, you're out of alignment. That constant morning anxiety, it's not just a mood, it's momentum killing. Because the way you start your day doesn't just set the tone, it sets your trajectory. But here's the truth. It doesn't have to be that way. You don't need more time, you need more intention. Before the world wakes up, before the emails, before the meetings, there's a sacred space, a silent hour, and that hour is where success is born. Andrew Carnegie knew it. Thomas Edison practiced it. Henry Ford believed it. They didn't wait for inspiration. They created it every single morning. So ask yourself, do you drift into your day or do you design it? Because this is not just another video, it's your wake-up call, your blueprint to take back your mornings, reclaim your clarity, and rise with unstoppable purpose. Today, you're not reacting, you're leading. Today, you win the morning, and when you win the morning, you win the day. Success doesn't begin with a paycheck, a breakthrough, or a big opportunity. It begins with intention. Before the sun rises, before the noise of the world drowns out your thoughts, you are given a rare moment, a blank page. And what you write on that page determines the story of your day, your week, your life. Andrew Carnegie, one of the greatest industrial minds in history, didn't just stumble into success, he crafted it. Not in chaos, but in quiet. Not in reaction, but in vision. He treated his mornings like sacred ground, never wasted, never ignored. Because he understood something most people miss. Your mornings define your destiny. And the reason most people stay stuck isn't lack of ambition, it's lack of clarity. They wake up rushed, distracted, already defeated. They check their phones before they check in with themselves. They let the world set their mood, their energy, their direction. But those who rise with intention, they're different. They don't start their mornings by reacting. They create, they lead, they choose. Your first hour is the foundation of your day. It's the rudder of your ship. And if you don't grip that wheel with intention, the winds of the world will carry you anywhere, usually somewhere you never wanted to go. So take a moment and ask, how do I want to feel today? Who do I want to be? What kind of energy do I want to carry into every room I enter? When you answer those questions before the world tells you who to be, you take your power back. Intention isn't just about goals, it's about alignment. You don't need to do more. You need to be more aligned with your values, your vision, your truth. Because here's the secret no one tells you. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And your morning is your system. If you begin scattered, you'll stay scattered. But if you begin grounded, calm, and focused, then everything that follows has no choice but to match that vibration. Napoleon Hill once wrote, "Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But the belief has to come first, and the belief is born in the morning. This is the time to reconnect with your deepest self. Before the emails, before the traffic, before the pressure, this is where you remember what matters. This is where you remind yourself that you are not just living another day, you are designing a life. So tomorrow morning, before your feet touch the floor, pause, close your eyes, breathe, and ask yourself, what kind of day am I choosing to live? Because that's the secret. You don't get the day you wish for. You get the day you prepare for. And preparation begins with intention. Every legend, every leader, every legacy was built on this one decision to start with purpose, not out of habit, but out of power. Intention gives you direction. But goals give you precision. You see, having a purpose is powerful. But without a plan, purpose becomes potential without motion. This is where most people go wrong. They wake up and hope the day goes well. But hope is not a strategy. Winners don't hope. They engineer their lives with clarity. And it begins with one simple habit: writing down your goals every single morning. Think of Thomas Edison. He didn't invent the light bulb by accident. He wasn't lucky. He wasn't guessing. Each morning, before distractions had a chance to claim his mind, he reviewed what mattered most. Not someday, not next week, today. Because Edison knew something science now confirms. Your brain is a goal-seeking machine, but only when you give it something to aim for. When you write your goals down, you activate a part of your brain called the reticular activating system. It starts scanning your environment, looking for people, decisions, and opportunities that align with what you've already declared matters. You're not just making a list. You're giving your subconscious a target. And when you see that goal clearly, when you feel it like it's already done, your mind begins working behind the scenes to make it real. That's not a gimmick. That's neuroscience. Let's be clear. This is not about writing a long to-do list. This is about focus, simplicity, impact. Each morning, ask yourself, what are the 3 most important things I must complete today? Not the urgent things, the important ones. Then write them down by hand and take one more step. Visualize the completion. See it. Feel the satisfaction of that call you made, that chapter you wrote, that workout you didn't skip. Let your mind live in the moment where the task is done, because the clearer your mental image, the stronger your emotional drive to get there. Elite athletes do it. High performers swear by it. And so did the titans of industry. Napoleon Hill himself taught this truth over and over. Definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all achievement. And what is a written goal, if not a declaration of that definiteness? So tomorrow morning, don't just rise, review, refocus, write it down. Because a goal in your head is a wish, but a goal on paper is a contract with your future self. And every day you review that contract, something changes in you. You move differently. You think sharper. You say no to the noise because the mission is too clear to compromise. This isn't about being busy. This is about being deliberate. And over time, the compound effect kicks in. You'll look back and realize your goals weren't random. They were steps. Steps you took, one intentional morning at a time. So take out the notebook. Write what matters. Visualize it vividly. Then go execute with clarity, commitment, and power. Because a life without written goals is a life left to chance. But a life designed each morning, that's a life built on purpose. Momentum is a quiet force, invisible to the eye, yet unstoppable once in motion. It doesn't begin with motivation. It begins with movement. And there is no better time to create that movement than in the first hour of your day. Think about it. The difference between a good day and a great day often comes down to how you start. You've seen it before. One person rolls out of bed late, stumbles through their morning, distracted, stressed, already behind. They spend the rest of the day catching up, scattered, reacting. The other, they rise with purpose. They tackle their most challenging task first, and suddenly, the whole day shifts. That's not luck. That's momentum. When you do the hardest thing early, when you break resistance before it builds, you create a chain reaction of energy, clarity, and confidence. That first win sends a message to your brain. I am capable. I am in control. I am moving forward. And your brain responds by releasing dopamine, the chemical of drive and satisfaction. It's like lighting a fire inside you, not a wildfire of stress, but a focused flame of productivity and purpose. John D. Rockefeller understood this principle well. He didn't drift into his days hoping they'd be productive. He engineered them hour by hour. His secret? Start early, start deliberately, and most importantly, start strong, because here's the truth. Momentum makes hard things feel easier. But the absence of momentum makes easy things feel hard. When you avoid the task you fear, you carry it all day like a weight. It drains your energy. It clutters your mind. But when you face it first, you break its power. That's why top performers don't wait for the perfect time. They create it. And that time is morning. So what's your first battle? Is it the workout you've been putting off? The call you've avoided? The project that's been sitting unfinished? Don't wait until you feel ready, because readiness doesn't come from comfort. It comes from action. Discipline first, motivation follows. Napoleon Hill said, "Do not wait. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand." Momentum isn't built on motivation. It's built on courage. One courageous act, first thing in the morning, can change your entire trajectory. Because once you're in motion, everything else begins to align. Tasks become smoother. Conversations become clearer. Obstacles feel smaller. And even when challenges come, you've already proven to yourself you can move through resistance. You already did it before most people finish their coffee. Momentum isn't about speed. It's about direction. And when you start your day facing forward, facing fear, facing the hard thing, you build a habit that compounds, not just into productivity, but into identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who shows up, someone who leads, someone who finishes, someone who wins, because they begin strong. So tomorrow, when the alarm goes off, don't hit snooze. Don't delay your greatness. Rise, stand, move with intention. Choose the hard thing first. And let that act of power become the engine for your entire day. Because the way you start is the way you continue. And the way you continue is the way you win. Win the morning, and you'll win far more than a day. You'll win your momentum. Life will test you, not once, not twice, but over and over again, especially when you least expect it. That's not a threat. That's a truth. And within that truth lies a gift. Because every single morning you are given a sacred opportunity to train for the battle before it begins, to prepare not just your schedule, but your spirit, to become resilient. Winston Churchill once said, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." Churchill wasn't born with that strength. He forged it morning by morning during the darkest hours of World War II. While bombs fell from the sky and uncertainty loomed like a shadow, he didn't react in panic. He rose with purpose. His mornings weren't idle. They were intentional. Because resilience isn't something that appears in crisis. It's something that's built before the storm arrives. And the building happens early. Every time you wake up and choose discomfort over ease. Every time you finish what you start. Every time you face the thing you could have ignored. You're not just completing a task. You're training a mindset. Resilience is a muscle. And like all muscles, it only grows when it's challenged. Start with something small. Take the cold shower. Go for the walk when it's easier to sit. Journal when your mind wants to scroll. These small acts are not insignificant. They are declarations, proof to yourself that you are capable of doing what others won't. They say, "I will show up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." Because resilient people don't wait for life to knock them down before learning how to stand. They practice strength every single day. That practice starts with your morning habits. This is not about perfection. It's about preparation. It's about creating a rhythm of courage, a daily pattern of perseverance. When life hits hard, and it will, you won't fall apart because you've trained to hold yourself together. You've built mental armor, not through grand gestures, but through quiet, consistent discipline. Ask yourself this: how do I meet the day before the day meets me? Do you rush in reactive, already distracted? Or do you pause, breathe, reflect, and prepare? This is your chance, right here, Right now, before the noise, before the pressure, sit with yourself. Ask, what can I do today to grow stronger, not just externally, but internally? Then act on it. Not when it's easy, not when it's convenient, but now, because now is the perfect moment. Resilience isn't about being unaffected, it's about being unbroken. It's the decision to rise when you'd rather hide, to persist when quitting would be easier, to stay grounded when everything around you wants to pull you off course. And here's the thing, you don't build strength by avoiding challenge. You build it by leaning in again and again. So the next time life throws you a curveball, you won't ask, why me? You'll ask, what now? That question changes everything because it shifts you from victim to creator, from passive to powerful. And that shift, it starts in the morning. So treat your morning like your training ground because that's exactly what it is. Build the habit, forge the mindset, train the resilience. And when the world shakes, you won't. You'll stand, you'll lead, you'll endure. Not because it's easy, but because you've practiced for it every single morning. Your reality doesn't begin with action, it begins with belief. Before you take the first step, before you set the first goal, before you speak the first word, there is one force silently shaping everything. Your beliefs, what you believe about yourself, what you believe is possible, what you believe you deserve. Because here's the truth, the world you experience is not a reflection of your circumstances. It's a reflection of your convictions. Henry Ford said it best. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. That's not a motivational quote, it's a blueprint. Ford didn't build an empire because he had more resources. He built it because he believed in a vision that didn't exist yet, and he believed in himself to create it. That belief shaped every decision, every risk, and every invention, and you are no different. Each morning before you dive into tasks and to-do lists, pause. Because action without belief is motion without meaning. You can't outperform your own identity. You can't manifest a future you secretly doubt. So start with belief. Stand in front of the mirror, if you must. Look yourself in the eyes and say it out loud. I am focused. I am capable. I am resilient. I am worthy of success. I am here to create, not just survive. Say it with emotion, with certainty, with force. Because your subconscious mind is always listening. And whatever you feed it, consistently, emotionally, repeatedly, it accepts as truth. That's not superstition. That's psychology. The difference between people who succeed and people who spin in circles? Belief. Strong belief doesn't make the road easier. It makes you stronger because when belief is present, failure becomes feedback. Doubt becomes a doorway. Setbacks become stepping stones. Without belief, every obstacle feels like proof that you should give up. With belief, every obstacle becomes a test you know you can pass. Napoleon Hill taught this principle over and over. What the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Not hope, not wish. Believe, and belief doesn't begin in a stadium. It begins in silence, in the first 5 minutes of your day. That's when you shape your identity. That's when you program your mind. That's when you either empower yourself or sabotage yourself. So speak it daily. Visualize it clearly. Feel it fully. Because the subconscious mind does not know the difference between what is vividly imagined and what is real. It only knows the emotion. When you see yourself winning, overcoming, achieving, and when you feel that image deep in your body, it becomes real inside of you. And what's real inside will eventually become real outside. That's why elite athletes rehearse victory before they compete. That's why world-class performers visualize success before stepping into the spotlight. Because belief shapes behavior, and behavior shapes results, and it all begins with your mornings. So don't let your day begin by accident. Don't let the first thoughts in your head be doubt, fear, or failure. Decide what you believe before the world tells you otherwise. Start each day not by checking your phone, but by checking in with your vision. Say it, feel it, own it. Because if you believe it, you'll find a way. And if you don't, you'll find an excuse. You are not limited by your circumstances. You are limited only by your beliefs. So tomorrow morning, and every morning after that, wake up and build your reality. Not by force, but by faith. Not in luck, but in your vision. Believe fiercely. Act boldly. Live intentionally. Because your future isn't written by fate, it's written by belief. And belief starts with you. Once belief takes root, it needs fuel. That fuel is passion. And the compass that guides it is purpose. You can wake up early, you can set goals, you can push through fear and discomfort, but without passion, without a reason that moves you, even the most well-crafted plan begins to feel empty. Passion is not loud. It's not hype. It's not some blazing motivation that burns out by noon. It's quiet, steady, a deep internal fire that whispers, keep going. And when that fire is connected to purpose, when you know why you're doing what you're doing, there is nothing in this world that can stop you. You see, belief gives you the permission to begin, but passion and purpose give you the reason to endure. This is why your morning routine matters so much, because each morning gives you a choice. Will I move through this day by habit or with heart? Think about the greats. Walt Disney didn't just wake up to build animations or amusement parks. He woke up with a vision to bring wonder, joy, and imagination into every home. His purpose wasn't tied to a paycheck. It was tied to a dream, and that dream became his fuel. Every setback, every doubt, every obstacle, it couldn't break him, because his passion was too strong to be silenced. Now here's the question only you can answer. What is your fire? What legacy do you want to leave? What dream once stirred your soul before the world convinced you to settle? Maybe it's been buried, forgotten, covered up by deadlines, responsibilities, and routine, but it's still there, and your mornings are the moment to uncover it, again and again, because you don't need to find passion once and hold on to it forever. You need to cultivate it. Just like a fire, it must be tended to daily. Each morning, before the world gets loud, take 5 minutes to reconnect. Close your eyes. See the life you're building. Feel the emotion behind it, not the tasks, not the to-do list. The why? Ask yourself, who am I doing this for? What impact do I want to make? Why does this matter? This isn't fluff. This is fuel. Because when you move through your day with a sense of mission, even the mundane feels meaningful. The hard tasks, they're not burdens, they're building blocks. The failures, not dead ends, just lessons. When your actions are rooted in passion, resilience becomes natural. Discipline becomes joy, and repetition becomes transformation. Napoleon Hill said, "Desire is the starting point of all achievement." But that desire must be emotional. It must matter to you. You can't borrow someone else's dream. You can't copy someone else's why. You have to feel it in your bones. So if your mornings have become mechanical, if your days feel like a blur of obligations, go back to your center. Go back to the why. Because when your passion returns, so does your power. You no longer need motivation. You're led by mission. You no longer wait for the right time. You become the right time. That's what happens when passion meets purpose. You stop surviving and you start creating. So tomorrow morning, don't just wake up and move. Wake up and feel. Wake up and remember what you were born to build. Because that fire inside you, it's still there. And it's waiting for you. To rise, to lead, to live with passion and purpose. Let it guide every step. Let it color every goal. Let it turn your morning ritual into a meaningful revolution. Because when you lead with purpose, you no longer chase success, you become it. You've set your intentions. You've declared your goals. You've fueled your mornings with belief, passion, and purpose. Now, there's one more principle that separates the average from the extraordinary. Growth, not just professional growth, not just chasing success, but personal evolution, the commitment to become better, wiser, sharper every single day. Because success isn't a destination, it's a reflection of who you're becoming. And nothing accelerates that transformation like the simple habit of learning, especially in the morning. Before distractions hit, before the world demands your attention, before you give your energy to everyone else, the most powerful thing you can do is invest in your own mind. Abraham Lincoln knew this well. Born into poverty, with little access to formal education, he didn't wait for perfect conditions. He made learning a discipline. Every morning he read, he reflected, he challenged his own thinking. And over time, that quiet, unseen commitment shaped one of the most influential minds in history. Lincoln wasn't a genius by birth. He became one through daily growth. That's your invitation too. You don't need to spend hours. You don't need a library or a degree. You just need to start your day with curiosity. Even 10 or 15 minutes of focused learning. A chapter from a book. A powerful podcast. A moment of reflection on a new idea. It's not about volume, it's about consistency. When you make learning part of your morning ritual, you send a clear signal to your subconscious. I'm still becoming. I'm not done. That mindset alone makes you unstoppable, because most people wake up thinking they've already arrived. They stop seeking. They stop stretching. And over time, they become rigid, afraid of change, uncomfortable with challenge. But not you. When you commit to learning, you remain adaptable. You become sharper in your decisions, stronger in your thinking, more creative in your solutions. You don't just react to life, you lead it with insight. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power only when it is organized into definite plans of action." So don't just consume information. Engage with it. Take notes and ask questions. Apply what you learn. Turn knowledge into wisdom. Turn inspiration into implementation. This habit, this daily discipline, becomes the sharpening of your mind's blade. And when your mind is sharp, everything else becomes easier. Your focus strengthens. Your conversations deepen. Your confidence grows. Not from ego, but from evidence. You know more. You see more. You become more. And the best part? This commitment compounds. Over a month, you've read several books. Over a year, you've studied principles that most people ignore. And over a lifetime, you've built a mind that can navigate anything. This is not about being smarter than anyone else. It's about being better than you were yesterday. It's about honoring your potential by expanding it, bit by bit, day by day. So tomorrow morning, before the world demands your attention, give yourself the gift of growth. Not as a chore, but as an act of self-respect. Because when you grow, everything you touch grows with you. Your business, your relationships, your impact, they all rise to match the strength of your evolving mind. So make it a ritual. Make it sacred. Let your morning be a classroom. Let your life be the lesson. And let every day be proof that you're not standing still. You're rising. You're reaching. You're learning, because growth isn't something you chase. It's something you become. Growth doesn't just sharpen your mind. It prepares you for life's greatest test, adversity. Because no matter how well you plan, no matter how strong your habits, life will surprise you. It will shake the ground beneath your feet, change the rules mid-game, throw storms into what looked like clear skies. And when that happens, and it will, the most powerful skill you can carry into the day is adaptability. Not just strength, not just speed, but the ability to bend without breaking, to adjust your sails when the wind shifts, to pivot your approach without losing your purpose. Napoleon Hill often wrote about the hidden blessings inside every hardship. He believed that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. But that seed can only grow if you're flexible enough to see it. Look at the world's greatest innovators, entrepreneurs, leaders. They weren't successful because life went according to plan. They were successful because it didn't. And instead of resisting change, they responded to it. Instead of saying, why me? They asked, what now? That shift from reaction to response is the foundation of true power. And the best place to practice that mindset is in your morning routine. Every morning, take a moment to ask yourself, what challenge might I face today, and how will I meet it with clarity? Not fear, not frustration, but calm, intentional adaptability. This isn't about predicting everything. It's about preparing your mind for anything. When you build that flexibility into your mental framework, life stops feeling like a threat. It becomes a classroom. Every detour becomes a discovery. Every delay becomes preparation. Every loss becomes learning. This is what separates people who thrive from people who survive. Thrivers adapt. They don't mourn the old plan. They build a better one. They don't panic when the path changes. They reorient with purpose. And here's the truth. Your ability to adapt is rooted in identity. If you see yourself as someone who can adjust, who can evolve, who can find solutions in the storm, then your brain starts working for you, not against you. And the best time to reinforce that identity, right when you wake up. Before the emails, before the meetings, before the noise. This is your moment to prime your mind for fluidity. Visualize calm in the face of chaos. Visualize clarity in the midst of confusion. Visualize yourself bending, adjusting, rerouting, but never losing momentum. This is mental flexibility. And in a world of constant change, it's no longer optional, it's essential. Because plans will fail, people will disappoint, conditions will shift. But if you adapt with purpose, you remain unshaken. You grow through the unexpected. You lead in uncertainty. You rise where others fall. So turn this into a practice. Each morning, write down one challenge you could face and one flexible response. Not rigid, not reactive, but wise, calm, adaptable. It's not about control. It's about clarity. When you have clarity of purpose, you don't need to control everything. You simply navigate whatever comes with grace. Because you're not here to resist the wind. You're here to master the sail. And mastery is built, not in the moments of comfort, but in the moments of change. So tomorrow, when the unexpected arrives, and it will, you won't shrink. You'll adjust, you'll shift, you'll move forward. Because that's what leaders do. That's what growth demands. That's what your morning prepared you for. You're not rigid. You're resilient. You're not fragile. You're fluid, and that makes you unstoppable. Once you've learned to adapt, once you've faced resistance with resilience, there's one final shift that transforms how you experience everything. Gratitude. Because success without appreciation is hollow, and discipline without perspective can turn into burnout. Gratitude is the lens that brings everything into focus. It doesn't change your circumstances. It changes how you see them. And when you change how you see, everything changes. You move through the day not with scarcity, but with abundance. Not with stress, but with strength. Not with entitlement, but with awe. Gratitude isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about acknowledging what's good even when things aren't. It's about saying, there is still something here for me, even when life is messy, even when it's hard. Eleanor Roosevelt, who endured more adversity than most, made gratitude a daily discipline. In the face of personal tragedy and global crisis, she chose to focus on what was still right, still working, still beautiful. And that choice gave her strength. Because gratitude isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It doesn't mean you stop growing, it means you grow with grace. And there is no better time to practice it than in the quiet of the morning, before the noise, before the pressure, before the rush. This is your moment to return to your center. Ask yourself, what do I have today that I once hoped for? What am I overlooking that deserves my thanks? What small joys surround me right now? Maybe it's the roof over your head. Maybe it's the health in your body. Maybe it's the breath in your lungs, the people you love, or the dream you're chasing. No matter how small, when you notice it, when you honor it, it expands. That's the magic of gratitude. It multiplies what you focus on. And the science agrees. People who practice daily gratitude report lower stress, deeper sleep, stronger relationships, and greater happiness. Why? Because gratitude rewires your brain. It shifts your attention from what's missing to what's meaningful. It quiets the inner critic and awakens the inner calm. And from that calm comes clarity. From that clarity comes power. Gratitude makes you more present. It roots you in now, so you stop racing toward the next win and start living inside this one. Because what you appreciate appreciates. Relationships grow stronger when you express gratitude. Work becomes more fulfilling when you see it as service. Even challenges become less intimidating when you can find the lesson inside them. So make this part of your morning ritual. Before you reach for your phone, reach for your heart. Write down 3 things you're grateful for, not just the big things. Often, the smallest things carry the most meaning. A warm cup of tea, the sunlight through your window, the fact that you get to try again today. Let these moments anchor you. Let them shape your tone. Let them soften your mind and open your heart. Because when you begin with gratitude, you begin with power, not the forceful kind, but the grounded kind. And that energy carries with you everywhere, into your conversations, into your decisions, and into your leadership. Because people don't follow those who have the most, they follow those who appreciate the most. So choose gratitude, not someday, not when things get better. Now, because the fastest way to attract more success is to honor the success you already have. And the fastest way to feel rich is to realize you already are. So tomorrow morning, and every morning before you run, pause, reflect, give thanks. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are present. And in that presence, you'll find your strength. Because a grateful heart is an unstoppable one, you've now seen the power of a morning well lived. You've learned how intention shapes direction, how belief fuels action, how passion ignites purpose, how momentum builds confidence, how resilience is trained, how adaptability creates strength, how learning sharpens the mind, and how gratitude grounds the soul. But there's one final truth to carry with you. Legacy is not something you leave behind. It's something you build, one morning at a time. Your legacy isn't a grand speech or a final chapter. It's being written right now, in the way you rise, in the way you lead, in the way you show up before anyone else is watching. Because the world will remember your impact, but only you will remember the choices that created it. Every action you take in the quiet of the morning, before the world pulls at you, is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. And the more votes you cast with intention, the more powerful your identity becomes. That's the secret. It's not what you say you want, it's what you do when no one is looking. And those small acts of consistency, they compound. They become habits. Habits become patterns. Patterns become character. And character? That becomes legacy. Napoleon Hill taught that you are the master of your destiny. You can influence, direct, and control your own environment. You can make your life what you want it to be. But that power doesn't come in bursts. It comes in rhythm. in structure, in discipline. So the question becomes, what are you building each morning, each choice, each breath? Are you building a life of reaction or of creation? Are you chasing distractions or nurturing something that will outlast you? The people who change the world don't wait for the big moment. They create small moments and do them well every day. They don't hope to be remembered. They live in a way that's worth remembering. And you? You have that same choice. Tomorrow morning, the sun will rise again. You'll be gifted another blank page, another chance to write a sentence in your legacy. And when that moment comes, don't rush through it, don't ignore it, don't leave it to chance. Instead, lead. Act with purpose. Speak with belief. Move with passion. Adapt with grace. Reflect with gratitude. And do the small, meaningful things that align with who you truly are. Because someday someone will ask what made the difference. And the answer won't be luck or talent or timing. It will be mornings like these, the moments when you chose vision over distraction, when you chose consistency over chaos, when you chose to live a life that matters, not just in words, but in action. You don't have to change the whole world. You just have to change your world one choice at a time, and it starts every single morning. So tomorrow, before the emails, before the noise, before the pressure, pause, breathe. And remember, you are not just starting a day. You're continuing a legacy. And legacies are not built in someday, they're built in today. So rise with purpose, move with conviction, and let your morning be your message. Because when you win the morning, you win the day. And when you win the day, you shape a life.